There was a jockey named Kawachi. He was a jockey active in the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s, when he rode particularly well on female horses to win Grade 1 races. Some of the female horses he worked with include Majiro Lamon, Nishino Flower, and Daiichi Ruby. All of these mares have left their mark on history. I would like to introduce a male horse named Agnes Flight who ran with Kawachi. And when I describe Agnes Flight, I have to go back a bit in the pedigree. Well, let's have a little Japanese snack first. Let me explain a little bit about the past, when Agnes Flight was born. In 1979, a horse named Agnes Lady won the Oaks. The jockey at this time was Kawachi, who was only 24 years young. Agnes Lady then became a broodmare and produced a total of 9 foals. The 6th mare in that group, Agnes Flora, born in 1987, won the 1990 Oka Show. And the jockey at this time was also Kawachi. Agnes Flora also retired and became a broodmare, and her 5th foal was born Agnes Flight. It was 1997. Agnes Flight's father was Sunday Silence. Then he trained and made his debut in February 2000, and his jockey was Kawachi again. Kawachi is very closely associated with horses named Agnes. His debut race was on the 1,600-meter turf of the Kyoto course. He was the second favorite and took his position at the rear of the field right after the start. He caught the horse in front in the final stretch and took the lead. He then opened a gap on the rest of the field, and by the time he finished he had a 4-horse lead. He won his first victory without incident, but it was already February, so there was not much time before the classic race, Satsuki Show. To qualify for the Satsuki Show, it is almost impossible with only the amount of prize money won in his debut race. He competed in the Wakaba Stakes on March 18th to earn a priority run in the Satsuki Show. If he finishes in the top 2 in this race, he will get a priority entry to the Satsuki Show. However, things did not go as expected. Agnes Flight in this race remained in the back of the pack throughout the race and was beaten badly, finishing 12th. As a result, his participation in the Satsuki Show was doomed. Therefore, he changed his goal to the Derby. Agnes Flight's 3rd race was the Wakakusa Stakes, held the same week as the Satsuki Show. He was the 3rd favorite in this race. However, he failed to get off to a good start and had to chase from the back of the pack. He quickly moved up on the 3rd corner and took the lead on the final stretch. Thus he won his 2nd win by half a length. Agnes Flight had his 2nd win, but still lacked the prize money to qualify for the Derby. So he chose the Kyoto Shinbun Cup as his next race. Until the previous year, this race was a trial race for the Kikasho, the final race of the classic season, but this year it was changed to a spring race. However, it is not a designated trial race for the Derby, so even if a horse finishes in the top 3, it does not earn a priority entry to the Derby. So Agnes Flight needed to finish in the top 2 in this race for sure and win the prize money. Agnes Flight was slow at the start and, as usual, raced at the back of the field. He gradually accelerated up the backstretch to improve his position. He continued to go around the 3rd and 4th corners, passing on the outside most of the way, and entered the final stretch. He maintained his speed and overtook the horse in front of him, finishing first, 3 lengths ahead of the rest of the field. This will almost guarantee him a place in the Derby. Agnesflight's jockey, Kawachi, is a man who has done well in mares-only races, but he had yet to win the Derby. He was born in 1955, so he was 45 years old at this time. The Derby challenge with Agnesflight was a great opportunity for him. Now, the winner of the Satsuki show that year was a horse named Shakur. His jockey is Yutaka Take. He was a horse that, like Agnesflight, raced from the back of the pack. Therefore, they were both considered to be well suited to the long final stretch of the Tokyo course where the Derby was to be held. And Yutaka Take won the Derby for the first time in 1998 riding Special Week, which was followed by Admire Vega in 1999. Therefore, it was expected that Shakur and Yutaka Take would be the stars of this year's Derby, since his victory would be Yutaka Take's 3rd consecutive Derby win. Just prior to the race, Shakur was rated as the favorite, with Agnesflight as the 3rd favorite. Agnesflight moved to the rear of the field shortly after the start, dropping back a position. Shakur is slightly ahead of Agnesflight. He is in 14th position out of 18. Agnesflight and Kawachi were able to race while watching Shakur. At the 3rd turn, Shakur moved to the outside and began to accelerate. Agnesflight and Kawachi started accelerating as soon as they saw Shakur accelerate. In the final stretch, Shakur was in the lead early. His double crown was just around the corner. Agnesflight chased desperately but could not close the gap. But with 100 meters to go to the finish line, Agnesflight seemed to accelerate even faster. The gap between them narrowed, and they crossed the finish line side by side. It was a very close finish. The photo judgment showed that Agnesflight had finished first by a mere 7 centimeters. Kawachi had finally become the Derby jockey of his dreams. And at this moment, the feat of 3 consecutive generations of Agnes Lady, Agnes Flora, and Agnesflight to win the classic races was also accomplished. Incidentally, right after the finish line of this Derby, Kawachi asked Take, which one? Take then said to Kawachi, "Congratulations," he replied. For Kawachi, this Derby was his 17th attempt. For him, Agnesflight was a memorable and unforgettable horse. However, this Derby was Agnesflight's last victory. After this he finished 2nd in the Kobe Shinbun Cup and 5th in the final classic race, the Kika Show, but then he ran 7 more races and lost badly, finishing 10th or worse in 5 of them. It is likely that his peak was indeed at the Derby. Agnesflight retired after finishing 13th in the 2003 Hanshin Grand Prize. His total was 4 wins in 14 races. A month before his last race, the Hanshin Grand Prize, Kawachi also retired as a jockey. And he is now a trainer. Agnesflight became a stallion, but before him, his younger brother became a stallion. The younger brother is Agnes Tachyon. Agnes Tachyon has the exact same pedigree as Agnesflight, is a year younger than his older brother, and retired undefeated after winning the Satsuki show in 2001 with 4 wins in 4 races. Agnes Tachyon had become such a popular stallion that he attracted about 200 mares a year. Agnesflight, on the other hand, was ill in her first year and only 62 mares were gelded. Agnes Tachyon became a leading sire but died prematurely in 2009, so it seemed that expectations would be high for Agnesflight, but the results were not good and he retired as a stallion in 2011. Agnes Tachyon produced numerous grade race winners, including 6 Grade 1 winners, while Agnesflight failed to produce any successful offspring. He is now 25 years old and living the rest of his life at a leisurely pace. That's all for this time. If you want to know more about Japanese horses, subscribe to this channel. Thank you.